So, what would it take for you to walk away from a successful career, sell everything you own, and move to another country alone?
Our guest today did exactly that. She left a thriving legal career in Miami and moved to Paris with no plan, no French, and no safety net.
What followed wasn't just a move across the world, it was a complete reinvention of her identity, her career, and her life.
And today, we're talking about the reality of starting over abroad, the courage it takes to embrace change, and what happens when you finally say yes to the life that's calling you.
Every journey has a story, and every story has the power to heal. My story hasn't been ordinary. I was adopted. I'm a survivor of abuse and trauma, and I have more than a dozen siblings. That's just the beginning of my story. Life has taken me on a long and winding road of healing and personal growth, a journey that ultimately led me back to myself and the path I was meant to walk. Along the way, I discovered that stories have power, the power to connect us, to help us grow, and even to help us heal. This is Travel Time Stories with Shannon. Real journeys, real stories, and real healing. Welcome back to Travel Time Stories with Shannon, where real journeys meet real stories and healing happens one conversation at a time. I'm your host, Shannon, from the Lone Star State of Texas, and some weeks I fly solo and talk about my own life story of travel, adventures, personal healing, and growth. Other weeks, I'm joined by my best friend, Anne.
Hi, everyone. I'm your co host, Anne from Missouri, and we sit down with inspiring guests who share their insights, expertise, and personal stories to help all of us along our own journeys.
And today's guest is someone who truly embodies reinvention. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it.
Joining us today is Wani Manly, bestselling author, TEDx speaker, transformational attorney, and founder of the Changing Changes Everything framework.
After more than 2 decades advising Fortune 500 companies as a corporate attorney, Wani made a radical life decision, leaving behind her successful career in Miami to move to Paris.
Today, she helps leaders and organizations embrace change as a superpower while living a life she once only dreamed about, splitting her time between Europe and the U.S.
Wani, welcome to Travel Time Stories. We're so excited to hear about your incredible journey.
Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Anne, for having me. And thank you to your listeners.
We are so excited to have you.
I've been looking forward to it as well, too. Thank you.
So let's talk about the moment that changed everything. You had this successful legal career, a stable life in Miami, and yet you made the decision to sell everything and move to Paris alone. What led to that decision?
You know, it was really quite abrupt, but it was a moment decision I made on New Year's Eve in 2010 where I had waken up that morning and I had plans to do like what I always used to go out and party with my friends in Miami, but I just woke up that morning and I decided like not to go out and party, but then instead to stay at home and to actually like to analyze my year because I didn't have like a really great year that year, to be quite honest with you. And I feel like a fraud in a sense. So I didn't want to be out like partying and acting like, oh my, like I had this like incredible year and saying like what we always say is going to be like my year and really like looking at, okay, you know what? I really had a crappy year. And so this entire like, organic process of like, okay, meditation and then like, okay, looking at what went right, what went wrong, and like going to like, and my list of what went wrong was a lot longer than like the first one. And really taking like radical self-responsibility. So, okay, what was really going on? And really the short end of it was like, I was really in love with the very first time. I was a brand new business owner and I had no business acumen. I just knew how to be a lawyer. And so I just really was into the business. And so then I'm just looking at my mindset. Then I begin to like kind of look into the future, like what I wanted to be, do, and have. And I just spent the entire day just actually reflecting on that. When midnight came, I took like a sip of champagne and I passed out because I've been like doing this since 6 o'clock that morning. And so I journeyed quite a bit that day. And I never said that I wanted to leave, I wanted to leave Miami. But when I look back, what I really wanted was like a very, very like deep and radical change. And so what ended up happening was like 3 days later, my whole life in Miami began to part of all of these signs about Paris, France, French this and French that. And I just was like, okay, what is really going on here? Because for me, I wasn't like a typical American, like all, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs about Paris and French this and French that. I had no connection to France whatsoever. I'm West African, but my family isn't from. We're from Liberia. We're not. It's not a francophone country, so it made no sense whatsoever. And so I'm very much on the spiritual path, and so I live like a very different life of living like a non-conventional life. And so I just kind of followed. So like for an entire year, I kept all these signs, and then okay, I actually initially went to Paris to check it out. I went there for my birthday in March, and I was there for 4 days, and I was in this very receptive state. Okay, God, universe, like, what is the message? Like, what's going on? I got nothing except really sick because it was really, really cold in Paris, and I was there like dressed like in Miami weather, meaning like, like with nothing on practically. And then I went to the French Riviera for the first time, and I was visiting a friend of mine from Denmark, and I had never been there before. And I went to basically every single city along the Riviera except Saint-Tropez. When I got to Monaco, like I had this very strange and overwhelming first case of deja vu where everything and everyone looked very familiar to me. And so I remember like just my whole routine was I would go to a cafe, wake up in the morning, I would take my journal and I would write. And I would have like some quiche and I would have like a glass of champagne. I would kind of like do like the hop off and hop on buses, and I just
Yep.
wander. And I remember like kind of like going to Monaco and I just heard a voice saying, okay, go this way. And I turned a corner and I just see this like mosaic fountain, like in the shape and like the two fishes. I'm a Pisces. My birthday is February 27th.
Mm-hmm.
And so I finally
Mhm.
heard like from my heart saying to me that your life is in transition from a lawyer to a writer. And I was just like, that's it. Like, I was really like, what's the big deal about that? Like it came all the way out just like that. So I went back to Miami. Okay. All right, God, I got the message. Okay. Whatever, okay. Cause I was kind of like blocking at that time. I was on a spiritual path and like, different things started to open up for me because I was raised to be a lawyer since I was like, I don't know, like 2 years old. And so like being a writer, being a speaker, none of those things were really in my path. And so I thought that would be the end of the science, but they actually like, continued on like the quadruple. And that was like that was in March. And so like, I remember like in August, like working in a building at a client site. And it was like one of these, it was like a super high building. It was like high enough. And I was just sitting there. It was the most beautiful day in Miami to where like everyone's at a beach or on a yacht someplace, but I was like in a room, like typing, like looking like drafting contracts, like just like so bored. And I remember like just seeing like yellow butterflies, and I was like, wait a minute, anything like butterflies flew quite this high. And the minute I said that and I observed the butterflies, I just heard I heard move, and I went like this. I just looked at my chest and I heard move to Paris. And I thought about it for like a second. I just said yes. There was nobody with me. But when I said yes at that moment, it was like I had parted the Red Sea energetically, and everything like the world, the universe began to conspire for me to move to Paris. It was like in the middle of crisis. I was trying to sell my condo in Miami. We found a buyer. So right away I sold my apartment. I sold the car. I gave all my things to different charities. I kept my legal practice books in my friend's place. And then I moved. A single person in France. I didn't know one word of French. I had no plan A, B, C, D. I just followed the signs moving me, like just leading me.
Wow,
I
that's
love that.
incredible.
Crazy story. Honestly, when I look, I would never do it again. Not at this age.
There was a
no.
reason that you were supposed to do this, and your subconscious spoke to you and said,
Yeah.
hey. But that kind of leap requires incredible courage. What did rebuilding your life look like in the early days?
Gosh, it was really, really difficult. Initially, I think with a bunch of money, I sold my place at a loss. And so I was just going there on faith. I was really like heavily into the spiritual path. I really like living like a life of surrender and just like wonder, which was so different from being a lawyer. You know what I mean? Just kind of going down the traditional path. But like, once I started open to like spirituality and like my whole life again to just became like a different, frequency. And so I struggled a lot. I lost all of my clients. At the time I was doing securities law, like, high powered, like, securities law, work with public companies. I was general counsel and I lost a lot of my clients, and so I had like about 5 or 6 like bread and butter clients, which I was working with, and they all dropped me because I was living so right away. I had to learn the lesson of abundance, learn the lesson of, like, trust me, I've got you, then I had no idea that it was difficult to find a place to live in Paris. Like, it's like getting like an MBA there, So essentially, I had to
Right.
learn. I had literally, when you just start all over, I literally did that. I had to learn how to walk, how to crawl, how to talk in a different language, and I had to do with like
Hmm.
really having faith of, like the Bible says, like of a mustard seed type thing. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
and I literally was that because and I had no idea like why I was there. I always tell the people I didn't go to Paris. Like, Paris called me to it. I just answered the sign or answered the call to it. So, and it made no sense whatsoever. You know what I mean? For like 2 or 3 years, people will ask me like, Wani, like, what are you doing in Paris? I'm like, I don't know. I would get so triggered because I had no clue either. All I could say was, I'm just following my heart. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to be. And like, it made no sense because I was losing everything left, right, front, and center. And my
Yeah.
mom was like, come back home. Like, what are you doing there? So it took, but I just couldn't explain to people the path that I was on, what was happening for me. Like, I was super inspired. I was like writing books, like it was just vomiting, like coming out of me. But it was just so different what I was groomed to be and had been like my whole life. And so it was difficult. Yeah, it was champagne. It was also, like croissants and, like what you think about Paris. But I was like literally become a different person. Like, I was being stripped away of everything
Mhm.
that I knew who I was. And I was being invited to step into something completely different. So it was hard.
Yeah. I can't even imagine that because, like, here you are living your life, everything's going good. And then you uproot yourself totally, move across the pond to Paris. And yeah, you left your home country.
Yeah.
And in doing so, you pretty much left your titles, your networks, all your familiar surroundings. That just all disappeared. And so, yeah, I can't imagine that happening. And yeah, that has to totally, with your mindset, just really mess you up.
It
Oh,
did.
yeah.
But at the same time as well too, because it was like there was a great duality I was actually living. It was like, okay, on one hand, I was like, it was difficult. I didn't know. I mean, I was like literally like learning. I didn't know how to. I didn't know one word of French. Like, I would like literally. I remember like the first time I used a washer and dryer, like when I found an apartment, and I couldn't read French. I literally, here I'm a lawyer, having my own business, like having all the success prior to. I literally was typing out the directions to be able to Google Translate it. I was having to read children's books of like A, B, C, D, and E. Imagine like in your 30s and like nobody cares like who you were. Like, they don't care about like the titles, like in different things. And so it was a very, very humbling experience. It was also very enriching as well too, because I began to just really discover who I was because I was okay, you know what? So my father was Minister of Finance for Liberia. So I grew up in like a very diplomatic like household. So like the path of
Mhm.
law for me was like kind of like, okay, it's what you're supposed to do type thing, Either that or
Yeah.
become a doctor. But I was really not discovering who I was. And it was really quite beautiful, but it was, and I had different helpers where I was being shown like when you're really like, because I really believe like all of us get this calling, to become
Hmm.
Mhm.
something different, to live like a different life, right? To basically live the life you were meant to be living. But very few people actually answer the call because it's very uncomfortable, right? It requires to give up like so many of what you think is like, what is, like your comfort zone. And so, and I realized for me, like at that time, like when you actually answer the call, there was so many people to help me along the way. Like there was just complete strangers to me. It was really quite beautiful at the same time, but I had to learn how to trust I would be okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that changed the way you saw yourself, right?
It did. And it changed the way how I saw myself and how I saw the world and how I saw everything else as well too, because I realized everywhere is your home, everyone is your family. And if you go over into the work, because I remember, like, for example, I'll never forget going to a party, and because when I got there, I had no idea it was difficult to find a place in Paris, right? And so I was like, I think I moved there like 21 times, something like that, right? And I remember meeting this woman, she was like, "I'm going to Morocco." She was like, "Yeah, something is just telling me, like, to give you my apartment for, like, 2 weeks, like, do you need a place to stay?" I mean, it was, like, just little
Wow.
things like that, and I was like, "Okay, that is only God, that is only the universe," and it's because
Oh, definitely.
I was living like this, you know what I mean? So, and I couldn't have scripted that. So for me, yeah, it was really quite beautiful because there were so many miracles happening for me, but I realized the more I let go, the more I trusted that I always tell the people I didn't come here. Like it wasn't my ego that brought me into Paris. Something else led me here. And so I just begin to trust, okay, whatever that is going to reveal my purpose here. And what I'm supposed to be doing here is going to take care of me. And that's what actually ended up happening. But I had to change a lot. I did. I had to do the inner work for sure.
Oh,
Yeah. Well, one of the things in your talk that I listened to that I really loved and I wanted to ask you about and have you talk about that is what we're just talking about now, like with change. You say how people want things to change in their life, but then they're scared to make change. And the only way your external changes is when your internal changes.
Yes.
That was
Yeah.
so powerful for me, and I had to sit and think
yes.
on that for a while. I'd never thought about it like that.
Yeah, because we were never taught that. We were taught we were taught the number one that changes like this. It's an external event. It's like no, it's like you command it. Like whenever you want something to change, when you become a different person, when you stop acting like the same way you've always been doing, then because the whole world's like a mirror to you, right? And it's like okay, whatever's being reflected to you, it's something within you that's actually initiating that. And I just realized, oh my God, okay, when I change on the inside everything else changed on the outside for me as well too. And so for me, that realization came from me moving to Paris. And so my TED talk was that is now what I actually speak about. And it's actually what I actually practice and what I'm tested on a daily basis as well too. 100%.
I'm sure that, yes, I have no doubt. Wani, do you think people underestimate how deeply travel and relocation can transform their identity?
100%. I'm pretty much used to it. So I lived in 5 different countries and I've been living abroad since I was one
Mhm.
years old. So for me, it's actually quite normal and it's just in my blood. But I think from an American perspective, because we're so far away from everything, I think it's very true for us versus, for example, like Europeans or or South Americans where like everything's like much closer to travel. But it really, really changes you. And I also think because like we're programmed to believe like the US is like the best of everything, whether this, whether that. And it's like, okay, there's a different world. Number one, it's programming. Number two, there are
Hmm.
other places a lot better. I'm not saying, everywhere you go is like it's a plus and minus type thing, but I really believe like, yeah, we do. It'll change your life. To me, it's been more effective for me than any of my schooling, with the exception of me going to law school. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. My dad
Mhm.
was military, so we got to live in Europe for 4 years. He was
Yeah.
stationed over there. And it was very eye opening and life changing for me and my brothers as well, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing.
Yeah, I personally think it should be mandatory for every US citizen to live abroad for at least 1 year. It'll definitely change your
Yeah.
life. It'll change your perspective. It'll give you self leadership. Because one of the things for me, like my personal mantra was like, because I had given up everything, it had to work for me. So I came up with this mantra of resilience, which was, it's not working, it's not an option. Because I had no choice. I had sold the car, I had sold the home. There was no coming back. Even though I would say to myself, okay, if it doesn't work in Paris, I can always back to the US, I had no home to move back to. So I
Right.
had to make it work. And I think like when you are abroad, certain skill set and certain parts of yourself like even for me, like speaking French or now I speak it, not fluently, but it's like, okay, I never thought I would actually learn it. But it's like, yeah, I can. So it's like, yeah, 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
a lot of people dream about moving abroad,
Mhm.
but the reality of actually building a life or a business in another country is very complex, as you know. So what are some of the hidden challenges of long-term expat life that people don't talk about?
Number one, it's not as glamorous as Instagram and Facebook and social media makes it. Everybody's lying to you, all right? It's not, you're gonna be in survival mode. And even if you have money, if you're very wealthy, you're still gonna be in survival mode because number one, your whole system's gonna be different. For example, for me, I moved from Miami to Paris. Miami's like the eternal sunshine state of Florida's a sunshine state. Paris is like winter for 8 months out of the year. There's no sun. My body freaked out, like because of lack of a vitamin D. And all of a sudden it was okay, what the hell's going on? I find myself going to a doctor, like having to get like vitamin D shots because there was no sunlight, you know? And so
Right.
you have to give up your friend that you don't have your friendship circle, your network. For me, there was a language barrier. For two, Europe, for example, which is where I've been living, is very bureaucratic. It's very much like a very systematized way of living, whereas here in America is all about our individualism. And so many other countries are very much like that, with the exception like the UK, for example, which is kind of like a little bit similar to us. So it's a lot of changes that people are not really ready for. um Making a business is a lot harder in different places in the United States, and so it is not easy. It is not for the faint of heart. And I don't want people to think that what people put on social media, the people are lying to you. Like anyone, if you look at anybody who's just moved abroad for like the first 3 or 4 years that are posting only like the highlight reels, I'm telling they're lying. And I can tell you because I remember writing an article for Expat Magazine, and it was called When the City of Light becomes a city of darkness. And it's all about Paris, like what really happens when, like, the truth about really living there, right? The bureaucracy,
Mhm.
it's a very closed culture, right? The salaries are not quite as high. And so there's just a lot of just different get to adjust to. And I remember putting in like a call to get different stories. I'm telling you, nobody wanted to speak to me with their name being revealed. Everything was all about anonymity. Everyone was like super depressed. They were all on what do you call it? They were all on medication. But when I looked at their Instagram, it was all like, I'm in Paris and I'm doing this. And I'm just like, there was such a disconnect. People are lying. And so I just want people to be like, it's very real. Like, listen to real stories like your podcast where people would tell you what it's really like. It's very lonely. It is extremely lonely because you don't really connect with a lot of people, And so there is a very much of an intercultural difference. And so, you're going to be looked at the Secretary of State, especially if Trump is in office, because everyone's like, the US is doing this. So it's like, it's a lot of different moving parts too that people aren't really quite ready for, that your nervous system isn't ready for as well too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can talk about this for
Exactly.
days. It's a lot because I know there's like I was just now the new American dream is to live abroad, because people are just finding out it's not just to escape the current administration, but it's also to really like it's very expensive living in the United States. When I go to tell my mom, I was like, oh my God, like what are you paying for? It's so much
Mhm.
cheaper to live in for any other places, even like in Europe. That's like in a city like Paris is very expensive, but it's actually much cheaper than the United States. So I get it. I get
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Wani, you've built businesses across borders,
it.
which takes courage, persistence, and adaptability. What were some of the biggest risks you had to take along the way?
I would just say, losing, for example, I lost, like I said, I lost my entire like bread and butter of my law firm. I had to change my practice of law. So when even though I did actually get back into start practicing again, but I began to I rearranged my entire different, what I actually, how my different practice, right? So for example, I was doing securities law before, but I could no longer do it because I was not living in the US full time, and like the legal opinions that I couldn't actually write them. So I lost a lot of like my client base, right? Number two, it's a lot harder to start a business in foreign countries than it is in the United States. So, for example, and I love that. So, in the US, you can set up a company like in 2 seconds. You don't need a lawyer to do it. But in France, like you have to have like an accountant. It's a lot of expense. It's a lot, even just to change like your corporation's name, you have to go to a court to actually get that done. So it's a lot more parameters. It's a lot more, and it's also not very easy because, for example, like those like socialist countries where like they're very much about everything's about the government. So for example, where like it makes it harder to be an entrepreneur than it is like to work, to work like for a company. It's a lot harder. So it takes a lot of research and development, a lot of patience, a lot of like really figuring out like what the system really is, and really trying to like to see how you can mesh into it. But it's not you're not going to do what you're doing in the US and just kind of like put it back, just kind of like, plug and play. You won't be able to do that because it's very different,
Right.
and it won't work. And a lot of people make that mistake. They're not successful with it. You do have to adjust. 100% big time. Yeah. And also too, you have to work, you have to be accustomed to not getting a lot of sleep. So like, for example, like for me, like when I got there and I was like having to redo my practice, a lot of my clients were on the Pacific Coast, like in California or in Arizona. So there was like a 9-hour time difference. I never went out for Friday nights. I never did happy hour because I was always working till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning type thing. So you have to like basically, you have to adjust a lot. It's not very easy, but it's worth it.
Wow.
It's worth it.
Wow.
Yeah, that time zone difference will get you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you ever question whether you made the right decision, and how do you deal with uncertainty?
Oh my God, there was so many times where I felt like I would bang my head against the wall because in the beginning it wasn't pretty at all. Because I remember even like one of my brothers was like, listen, sis, this little fairy tale you're living up in Paris, you need to give it up and come back home. Because I had lost everything. Like I said, I had lost like all of my clientele. And so it just, I was questioning a lot because the journey for me didn't make a lot of sense at all in the very beginning. And I knew that I wasn't going to Paris to continue my old life, that I was going there to do like a completely different life, but I didn't know exactly what I was actually going to look like. And it wasn't until I did the TED Talk that it all kind of came into it, all like it made sense to me. Then it was a lot easier. But in the very beginning, like it just wasn't at all. No. So like I said, the most triggering question to ask me was, Wani, what are you doing in Paris? And so yeah, there were times when I didn't have any money, when I was calling my mom to help me, and I was like, oh my God, and I was like, I'd given him so much. I had lost all of my friends, my connections. I didn't speak the language. Like I said, nothing made sense as to what the hell I was doing in Paris. And so, yeah, I questioned a lot. It took me like a long time to get Miami out of my system. There would be times where like, there'd be certain, for example, like in the month of March was like, there's like a music festival, which was like my favorite time to be there. I couldn't be on social media because I was just so distraught because I miss my old life. It took me like a long time to let go of the old life to fully embrace my French life. Yeah. So yeah, I had a lot. Those thoughts came to me many, many times. Like, what am I doing? Yeah, did you make the right decision? Because it wasn't easy. I mean, people like it is now. It's beautiful now. Like I'm there. I'm in the south of France in the summertime in the Riviera. But it's like no, it was. I had to create that, and I had to do a lot of letting go, a lot of like going through the whole ups and downs. So it wasn't like all smooth sailing.
But you did it.
I did. Thank you. I sure did.
And you've built an entire philosophy around embracing change rather than resisting it.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people fear change?
Because we're addicted to the familiar. And it's not our fault because it's actually like neurological, like our mind actually like craves, or our brain craves like what's familiar to us because it views anything that's different to be not safe. And so yeah, our life may suck, but it's like we're just used to it being suck, like, but because if it was to be on the other spectrum, like it would be quite different. And so it's just how things work. But it's like, yeah, we want change, but we don't want to change ourselves. It doesn't work. It doesn't work that way, And so it's like we remain. When people say they're stuck, it's like no. It's like that's really what's going on. But it's like I said, it's a thing you have to like fight with your brain. You have to like basically make the unfamiliar familiar, and then things kind of like start to rearrange itself.
Yeah, that makes
There you
sense.
go.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
And it's more of an identity
Wow.
thing. Like I'll tell you for me, like so for example, one of the things a change that I actually going through now is actually letting go of being a lawyer. Imagine my entire life since I was 2 years old to be groomed to be one thing, and now like I'm okay. And now for me, law is like the back burner, and being like a speaker and a consultant and like really like just taking the stage. But I've had to like really reprogram myself to say, okay, I am an in-demand, highly booked and highly paid speaker because my mind it's not familiar with that. Yeah, I've been speaking, but it's like no. I mean, you can't deny that I'm a lawyer. Like it's in my DNA. Even if I'm not talking about law, like, I'm
Mhm.
always my perspective is actually looking toward that. But I've had to like reprogram my mind and to make that to be very familiar as opposed or equally with what I would do like on a normal like day for practicing law. So yeah, it takes practice and it takes intention and practice to rewire your brain and your identity.
It does.
Yeah.
But it can
Yeah.
be
And
done.
it's not something that happens overnight either.
No, it's
No.
You have to continually work at it.
no, despite what Instagram and all these coaches are telling you, they're lying to you. Like
Right?
they're lying to you, you know? So like yeah,
Yeah.
and you have to do the activities to reinforce like the new identity, whatever it is you want to be. Like for me, for example, like part of my day is actually pitching. Like I actually pitch it, which is how I connected with you. I research that I want to podcast I want to speak on because that's the job of what a speaker really does, right? Reach out to companies,
Hmm.
to podcasts, to events, and say, okay, I want to speak. And so you have to like reinforce the talk with the affirmations as well too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Wow.
Mm.
Hmm.
So, how did your personal leap shape the framework that you teach today?
It's everything because for me, it's not something that it's really what I embodied, like what I came up with, and I realized like, my God, that's how I got from here to there. So like the first was really having to change your perspective about change. Just like for example, okay, when you ask them, okay, tell me what you think about change, everybody says it's hard, right? No matter, I don't care
Hmm.
what audience I've actually speaking in front of, everyone just has a viewpoint that change is actually hard. Like it's not. Well, so you have to like divorce yourself from that line, from that language, from that mantra, and so and tell you no, it's an opportunity. It's beautiful, it's different, it's new. Say anything, but it's actually hard. And so for me, yeah, the framework is like what I discovered, what I live, and what I actually teach. And what, like I said, what I'm also am very tested as well too, because the universe will keep testing you on all like on your perspectives and all like what you're sharing because yeah, and it should.
Hmm.
Yeah. And
So,
like you were talking about all the signs that you kept seeing before
yes.
you actually went to Paris. If you're not listening to what the universe is trying to tell you, it's going to keep like slapping you upside the head to try
Yep.
to get you to say, "Hey,
Yes. Pay attention. I'm trying to
yeah,
tell you something important. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate
exactly.
because I love life, you know what I mean? And I love all of life. And I always say,
Hmm.
and I know we all have different religious beliefs or spirituality, different types, but I'm like, you know what? I've never believed like we were just here hung and dry. Like there's nothing here to guide us. And I'm like, no, the birds like, singing in the morning is like it's a lullaby. There's something but we're not paying attention because we're too busy like on these things and we're not really for
mm-hmm,
me, I live in a realm of okay, like, okay, what else is there? I'm always paying attention to the signs, the insights or intuition, like, okay, what is showing up for you? Even if you're not like woo-woo like me, okay, you can look, okay, what is working in my life right now, right? Say, for example, if you have a desire to, I don't know, be a travel agent, right? But you were like an accountant. So maybe you just keep getting invited to go on trips. Okay. That's just tell you, okay, that's like a sign right there saying, hey, you know what? Go this direction type thing. But people don't really, they just dismiss it. I don't.
mm-hmm,
Never.
Right.
Yeah. But I don't go like I'm not overboard about it as well. I'm just like very open to life. I'm very engaged and
mm-hmm,
for me, like, for example, like one of the things I really do is every day for 1 hour, I go and I walk outside in the sunshine. and I leave my phone, and I'm just completely into nature. I'm very present, and it's because I want to be back, because you can only like receive the signs when you're in a present moment, not when you're, listening to like
Right.
a podcast or a book or whatever. But so I leave my phone here for 1 hour every day. I go walk outside.
That's a
Yeah,
really
you
good
have to
idea,
be in
actually.
nature, and being
Mhm.
out in nature grounds yourself and connects you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you're open to everything that's going on at that point.
Especially, which is what I love when I come here to Houston and Atascocita, because it's very much in nature. I don't know how it is for you and Ann, like in Missouri where you are. Are you in the city? Like, is it very
Yes.
around? Okay, great. Yeah, good.
I am in the city, but not a big city. I'm on the outskirts of a smaller city.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have tons of nature, and yeah, I love nature.
Okay.
So, but I'm with Shannon. Nature grounds you. Mother Earth she grabs onto you and says, "Hey,
Yeah.
come back down to earth."
Even
You
just
know,
like being in the
it's
sun,
time.
you know what I mean? Even like if you were in this,
Oh yeah.
it's just to sit in the park, and just because like the way our lives are now is like it's not conducive to that, because we're so much like we have our to-do list, right? We wait for our computer, and like, for me, like
Right.
1 hour per day, it's me in nature or me in the sun. Absolutely. It's a non-negotiable of mine every day.
I love
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
so
I do
much.
too. Everybody should implement that. Because seriously, if I'm like feeling depressed or had a bad day, if I just walk out in the sunshine for a little bit and just stand there in the sunshine,
Yeah.
I just start feeling lighter and so much better.
And it's free.
Oh yeah, vitamin D.
Yeah,
It
and it's
is.
free. It doesn't cost me anything.
It's
Nope.
free. It regulates your nervous system, because I'm really into that as well too, and like breathing techniques. But yeah, for me, the sun, getting vitamin D, it's priceless for me. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. And you can tell the difference when you, like we've had very rainy days this week. So for 4 days this week, no sunshine or whatever. And you can just tell the difference when you don't get that real sun
Yeah.
feeling every day.
100%. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you could go back and talk to the version of yourself right before you made the move to Paris, what would you tell her, Wani?
Enjoy the ride. Like, there's nothing to be worried about.
You go, girl.
There's nothing to be worried about. Like, you got this. Like, I would have, because I do tend to worry a lot. And it's one thing I do work on. And so, yeah, it was quite scary. And so I would tell her, like, not to worry. I'll share with you, like, when I was 6 years old, I said two things, which were that I wanted to live between the US and Europe. And I wanted to have 3 homes. And when I said at the time, like, everyone laughed at me, like, little girl, like, what are you talking about?
Wow.
And that little girl really actually did that, And so I'm so proud of myself. Yeah, okay, it's my mom's house, but who cares? Like, I'm here. It's like I'm here for
Right.
It's like,
Exactly.
who cares? Or I can get an Airbnb, but it's like I'm living like that 6-year-old's dream, and it's just like I realize like everything works out. Like your desires, I would tell her, your desires you want will come true. The ones that are from your heart. So stop worrying so much. You got this. That's what I would tell her.
We all have
That's
that
great
destiny.
advice.
That I'm so proud of her.
It's the path that gets you there. I love
Yeah, you should be proud of her.
I don't know
So
how it is
proud of
for you
her.
ladies, because so in African or sub-Saharan African culture, it's just we don't say these things a lot. Our parents don't say I'm proud of you very often, because our upbringing is very, very strict. Excellence is like the standard. This is how we're raised. You know what I mean? And so it's like, for example, I remember like when I when I was in the US and when I was little, my friends would get like money for making good grades, and they would get special things. And I remember like trying this with my mom. My mom was like, what are you talking about? Like, you're supposed to make good grades. I'm not paying you to make good grades. Like, I didn't, and I know they are now. Like, my mom, she's just proud of me and my dad, but I just never heard it growing up. And so I would tell her, because it's just a cultural thing where our culture doesn't say that a lot. It's like, we just expect you to be, to be great and to be smart and to do great things. And so I would say to her, I'm proud of, because I need to hear that. We all need to hear that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody needs
We
to hear
do.
that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So after everything that you've seen in the world,
Yeah.
what is one thing that people stress about every day that really doesn't matter as much as they think it does?
Oh my God, what people think about them or the matter of how much people are paying attention to them because, nobody cares. Everyone's just so self-absorbed about their own life. And I think it's because we're all on social media and we're all posting because to a certain extent, if you have a business like I do, you have to have some type of social media presence. And so we're all seeking validation from other people. And I would say people don't even like themselves. We're all seeking, it's like you can't like it's like
Mm-hmm.
asking a beggar for money or having or drunk for food. It's like, no, it's like people are so they're not paying attention to you like as much as you think they are. That's what I would
100.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
everyone's worried about their own problems, you know what I mean? But it's like we're just so self-absorbed and it's so like we just think everyone's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, people are like really concerned about what's going on with their lives. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And it doesn't
Yeah.
matter what somebody else thinks about you. Who cares? Who
Exactly.
cares what they
Right.
think about you? You just have to love yourself. As long as you love yourself,
Yeah.
nothing else matters.
Yeah. And it's
No.
unfortunate we're not taught that. I don't know about you, Lee, but I was never taught to love myself. That was like
No, me either.
No.
so yeah, it is. We have to
No.
go back and to reparent ourselves, and so and it's not easy because I feel like no matter how much inner work I have to do around that, I am still seeking the love from my parents. Because it's like, all right, we were so taught you get the love from your parents, like it's like no, it's from inside. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah,
need to
for
do a better
sure.
job of teaching our children that and other people that as well.
100%.
And yeah,
If I'm
change that mindset.
yeah, if I'm lucky enough to actually have a child, I definitely that would be like the one thing I would from the get go, from conception to say, love yourself. I love you, but love yourself because it's so important. I was taught that, and then so many other people as
Yeah, me
Yeah,
too. And I think
same.
if we had been taught that, I think there would be less hate
100.
in the world
Yeah,
because that's why there's so much hate in the
yeah,
world. You're hating on yourself or you don't love yourself. And so you're projecting that out onto other people.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Yeah, we would have a lot. I think the world would be a lot different, because what's missing is that it's really love. Because no matter what, whether it's you put makeup on your face or what you decide to wear, it's like we're all wanting to feel loved and important and significant, and we're all seeking that from other people. And it's really it's supposed to be coming from inside of here. So
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think people forget sometimes.
yeah,
exactly. We do. And for anyone who feels called to make a big change in their life, whether it's moving abroad or changing a career or just reinventing yourself, what would you want them to know?
do it. Do it. For I have really discovered, and as much as the cliche that actually it sounds like, it's true. As I have discovered that everything you actually desire is on the other side of you changing. We've heard it like it's on the other side of fear. I believe that's true as well. But for me, I have just found like when you change, everything you actually desire is just like it just shows up without the effort, without the struggle. It's like no, become the different person, or say yes to the change, or just say yes to your curiosity. Just go for it. And you like yeah, and like I said, okay, I always took out always gone back to Miami, even though I couldn't, but yeah, I could. You can always tell yourself, okay, I can always go back to blah blah blah, but you never do. You never do. You
No,
never will. No.
you're not the same person anymore. You've grown.
Exactly. So you just can't. It's impossible,
You know.
And it's all for the better. It's evolution. Like everything grows, everything changes, and metamorphosis is something completely different. So we're not meant to stay the same and to live in the same house. And it's like we're here to evolve. And I think the more willing we are to say yes to change, is the more it's going to reflect like the quality of our lives. 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
for
agree.
sure.
Yeah.
I think experiencing new places, new cultures, new things is something that does make us grow quicker.
Yeah, and I
And it
also
makes us into better people.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I was just gonna say, and I also think you begin to really appreciate your life a lot more as well too. I mean, I can tell you that
Mhm.
for me, one of the greatest gifts that France gave me was really, I'm so grateful to be an American. I'm grateful to my African parents. I was born in the United States, but there's just certain things I took for granted. For example, here we're just so optimistic. We're go-getters. I just have an entrepreneurial spirit, but there is not the same at all. Just being positive and all, just to be having an upbeat personality is okay, which is for me has gotten to me. I accredit that to my success, but it's not a common thing everywhere else in the world. And so once you begin to look and you begin to appreciate what you actually have a lot more. Like even for example, like I love the way how easy things are here in the United States. Like I said, open a business, open a bank account. You just begin to
Right.
appreciate your life a lot more, your country a lot more. I became a lot more patriotic. Not that I ever wasn't before, but I was just like, wow. And I was like, okay, you know what? For me, the 4th of July just wasn't just about barbecue anymore. It was just like, wow, okay, this is what this really means. I'm grateful. I've got the passport that has really served me in this world. And so it just really makes you appreciate what you actually have and where you come from, which you don't really take for granted.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that completely.
So
So can we do some rapid fire questions?
absolutely. Go ahead, go for it.
All right. Favorite place in France?
The Louvre. The Louvre.
Yes. Best lesson, travel has taught you?
The best lesson travel has taught me, to trust myself.
Something people misunderstand about expat life?
That is easy.
One word to describe reinvention?
Challenging.
Excuse me.
Yep.
Yes.
It is very challenging.
I
100%.
think that is the best word
Yeah.
to describe it. It is a challenge. It's a huge challenge.
And it's
But
also rewarding as well
you-
too. Once you get past like the hurdles, but
Oh.
it's talent challenging and also rewarding as well too.
Isn't it so fun to learn all of their customs and
Yeah.
get to meet new people and go new places?
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't I just love it. I think I feel more French more than anything now. I'm a fixture there. I will always be coming back to United States because my parents are here. But
Mhm.
I'm so glad that I'm glad that I went through it, that I overcame like the challenging part because it is really beautiful now. And it's been so worth it. It really has.
I love it. I love this for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Wani, your story is such a powerful reminder that sometimes the biggest growth happens when we step out into the unknown,
Yeah.
and that reinvention isn't about abandoning who we are. It's about discovering who you're meant to become.
Mhm. Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us today. Where can listeners find out more about you?
Thank you so much for having me. So you can find me on social media. I'm Wani Manly on Facebook, and then on Instagram, I'm the lovely Wani. So that's where I hang out. So love to connect.
That's the perfect Instagram name for you. I love it.
It
Thank you. It's like a nickname.
It suits you.
it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
I love
Exactly.
that.
That's what my friends call me. Thank you.
Wani,
Thank you
again,
so
thank you
much.
so much for being here and sharing your journey. And for everybody listening, if this conversation inspired you, share it with someone who might be standing at the edge of their own leap. And Wani's contact information will be in the show notes and on our website at traveltimestories.com.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you.
And until next time, folks, keep traveling, keep growing, and keep making memories for life.